Welcome to the Truth to You Daily Podcast, a podcast designed for teenagers who want to learn more about God's Word and how it impacts our daily lives. Journey with us as we set out to explore God's timeless truth one day at a time. Hello, welcome back to the Truth to You podcast. I'm so thankful that you've chosen to be here with us today, and it is Friday. Congratulations. You've made it to this point in your week. The weekend is staring you in the face, and I hope it's been a good day. I hope that you've been able to walk with the Lord. I hope that you've been able to see His thumbprint on your life. And today, as we notice our memory verse, let's allow this to affect us. Proverbs 9 and verse 9, give instruction to a wise man, and he will be yet wiser. Teach a just man, and he will increase in learning. One more time, Proverbs 9 and verse 9. Give instruction to a wise man, and he will be yet wiser. Teach a just man, and he will increase in learning. That verse there talking about the importance of teachability in our lives. Let's go ahead now to 2 Timothy chapter 4 and verse 10. And this is the thought for the day. This is the final passage of 2 Timothy, the book of 2 Timothy, chapter 4 now. And we're going to close things off. But this particular thought, as Paul closes the book, verse 10, he says this, For Demas hath forsaken me, having loved this present world, and is departed unto Thessalonica, Crescens, to Galatia, Titus, unto Dalmatia. Have you ever thought about or considered what causes people to walk away from serving the Lord? There are possibly many reasons. However, Paul addresses one particular reason that he saw in a man named Demas. Now, as far as we know, Demas would have fit that category of full-time Christian service. Now, it's very possible as well that he was a tent maker, and as Paul was in those years, it's possible that he had some type of livelihood that enabled him to keep traveling and that sort of thing. That's very possible, but it's very clear that Demas has sold out for the Lord. And he is wanting to serve God with his life. He's using his life as a light to other people, and he's spreading the gospel. He's helping Paul. And Paul is very transparent about all of this. And he says, Demas hath forsaken me. You know, Paul explains to us that Demas walked away from serving God not because the Lord let him down, but because Demas was drawn away from God by his love for the world. And I think this is an important point before we talk about the love of the present world part. I think it's important that we understand that no one has ever walked away from God because God was unfaithful or God did not show himself strong or God was not there for someone. That no one has ever walked away from God because of a shortcoming on God's part. That has never happened, and it will never happen because God is perfect, and the promises that He gives us are true, and the problem is never on God's part. The problem is, just as Paul puts it here, the problem was on Demas's part. And what does the Bible say? Having loved this present world. Teenager, the world can be so deceptively alluring to us. You know, 1 minute it can frustrate us. You ever get frustrated at the world? You just think, boy, they're so anti-God, so anti-Christian, so anti-truth as it would seem. And 1 minute we can be so frustrated with the world, and yet the very next day, the next week, the next year, in another season of life, we can find ourselves being drawn towards it, having an affinity for it, being lured away as far as our attentions from God. And Demas, that's his story. And the sad truth is that we are not told whether or not Demas ever came back to the Lord. And of course, this is a desire that we would love to see come to fruition when we get to heaven. Wouldn't it be great to see Demas and to hear Demas' testimony of having come back to the Lord? That would truly be miraculous. That would be awesome. That'd be a neat testimony to hear. I don't know that we'll get to hear that statement from him. I don't know that Demas came back to the Lord. But I do know this: we have a choice today. And we can either go on deceiving ourselves and thinking that, well, I don't really have an affinity for the world, or I don't have any desires that way. And you may not, but to think that we are above that temptation, that's a mistake. So let's learn from the example here of Demas and be careful of any desire or affinity that we could have for the worldliness, the worldly system, the things that go against God and His Word. Examine that in your own heart, because rest assured, if left unchecked, and as if you continue to feed that part of your life, you will find that you have given yourself more and more to it, to the point that you get to the point here as Demas. I love this present world and is departed from me. Just a warning for us today, and teenager, let me encourage you, if this is a high point in your Christian life and things are going well, I just want to give you a pat on the back and say you're doing a great job. Keep up the good work, and keep your eyes on Jesus. But if this strikes a chord in your heart, there's no better time than to confess that secret love for the world and separate from it. Before we go, just want to mention our teenager of the day who we're praying for, and that's Enoch. Take some time to pray for him, and I know that he'd appreciate it. Listen, it's always a pleasure to spend some time with you here on the podcast, and if this podcast has been a blessing, go ahead and share it to some other folks, and we'd love to be a help to wherever we can. We'll see you next time. Hope that you have a great weekend, and look forward to seeing you when you come back together.